This happened to me a long time ago now. I used to live in a relatively small town in a pretty rural part of the Midwest. I'm not going to specifically name where, just in case I dox myself, as I've told a lot of my friends this story. I was a teenager, maybe 15 or 16 years old, and this was sometime in the 1990s. When I say small town, I'm talking like 15,000 to 20,000 population. Maybe slightly more, but you get the picture. It meant a lot of people knew each other pretty well. Rumors would spread around very quickly, and you got to know pretty much everyone's business. It's an old town dating back to the early days of colonialism and has a lot of long history that I don't really have the time to go into here. Anyway, there was this one rumor that we would hear a lot growing up as kids. It would be told by my parents, grandparents, and then even spread amongst the kids too. Rumor had it that underneath our small town, there was a decently sized tunnel network. I don't know or understand the exact logistics of it, but the rumor was that it was built down there sometime during or just before the Second World War. Thankfully, it never came to pass, but I think the idea was to prepare our town, or perhaps towns across America, in case a large-scale invasion or attack was initiated. So, rumor was that every building in the town had some sort of a hatch or a basement or an entrance to this tunnel system. Whether it was a house, a police station, a mom and pop store, a chain store, or a gas station, you would have something that led down into the system. The idea was that anyone, no matter whether they were on the outskirts of town or closer to the center, could quickly seek shelter underground and join up with everyone that they knew. I'm guessing they would have supplies and some kind of bunker or reinforcement to protect against the bombing. Now, this just seemed like some kind of old town urban legend that people pass around. It didn't make sense because my house did not have anything like this. No one else I knew could ever find any sort of entrance to in their houses. Well, there is a second part to this rumor. I don't know if it was tacked on to explain it or whether it was part of the original tale. Well, they would say that after World War II ended, and to not add any fuel to the mass panic fire once the Cold War started, the town began to shut off and seal all of these entrances. I think the idea was to reassure people that, we will never need these again, so no need to worry. It would also stop troublesome teens getting into trouble and doing drugs down there or hiding any criminal activity from the limited law enforcement that we had. That brings me to the day I want to tell you about. One of the kids who went to my school said he had found a way in. He worked at Walmart part-time in the summer and was around a year older than me. He said that one night while stacking boxes in their basement. By the way, since when the fuck does Walmart have a basement? He found a little hatch buried underneath tons of old boxes. Said he only stumbled upon it because he had knocked a stacked pile over and had to clear it all up. Told us he got curious and took a look down and that the tunnels were huge. He went in a little ways, but had to come back to close up for a shift. He seemed pretty sick when he told us this. He was coughing and spluttering everywhere, and I told him to watch it. I had exams and shit coming up, and could not afford to be bedridden. He was wheezing a lot, and it was strange actually. It sounded like it hurt for him to talk. I told him he was full of shit, and to go home and sleep it off. He gave me his spare key to get into the building around the back where they unload shit. Told me to only use it late on when I was sure that there was no one there. Otherwise, his ass would be on the line and he would kill me. I told him whatever. What a stupid prank. As if anyone was really gonna fall for that. A week went by. I did not see him at school for that entire week. Kids around school were saying he was seriously ill and had not moved out of his bed for the entire week. Apparently had to send doctors to his house because they could not move him. I swung by his place on the Friday and talked to his mom at the door. I asked what was wrong, and she was just extremely vague and evasive. Told me he was sick and needed rest. I asked if I could see him, and she said no. Absolutely no visitors, doctor's orders, and then she shut the door. Kinda rude. No one else around town could tell me what was wrong with him either. It was just this really strange mystery, and I could not figure out why all of this secrecy from his mom. So, one night, I am hanging with a buddy that I will call M. It is late on in the night, and we are bored as fuck. I suddenly get an idea. I ask him if he knows the legend, and he says yeah. I tell him exactly what the Walmart kid told me. You should have seen the spark in his eyes. We did not even need to discuss it. We went straight there. My friend went up first and did some scoping, and it seemed like the place was dead. Small town, so no overnight security. I don't think they could afford it. We were in the clear. We head around the back and open up the door with the key that we were given. Took us a minute to find the basement. Stupid asshole. It was like a tiny little room with a few boxes and shit. He made it seem like a massive warehouse. We found the hatch, just like he said. Not sealed off or locked or anything, just underneath a stack of boxes. We head down. There isn't any ladder or anything, you just kinda have to take a leap of faith. Luckily, the drop was not big enough to break our legs or anything, but it definitely hurt. Second we get down there, we smell this horrible, pungent smell. We can smell chemicals first and foremost. Smelled like someone had been dumping waste and shit down here. And then we could smell some kind of rot too. I swear, if they had been throwing old food down here and we had to smell it and see it, I am gonna puke. The place is quite big. Bigger than we expected, honestly. I wasn't sure if it connected all over town, but it was too big to ever explore in time. Tons of winding tunnels and random paths that we did not want to risk getting lost down without a way to find our way back. Then we stumbled upon something we were not expecting. It looked like something out of a cartoon or a TV show, but down one of the narrower paths, we saw a pile. It was a pile of fucking yellow barrels. They had the symbol. The fucking nuclear waste radioactive whatever the fuck symbol. I immediately looked at my buddy and was like, let's go, now. But this fucking dumbass walked right up to them. I tried to pull him away, but he was just in complete disbelief. Started touching and hitting them and shit. I was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Are you trying to die? He quickly pulls away and holds his face and starts coughing his lungs out. He grabs me while holding his arm over his face and pulls me down the tunnel. I'm just like, dude. He tells me that the barrels are leaking. Dude, what? Please, let's go now. But he just keeps dragging me down one of the tunnels and is like, we can't breathe that shit in. Let's get away and make a plan and then we'll go. We walk around for around 5 minutes and he has to stop. He goes off and pukes in a corner. This idiot has taken us to a dead end. It's got one of those big ass grates covering the end of the tunnel. There is light down here but precious little, so it's lucky I brought a flashlight. I flick it on and I spot something at the end, piled up against the big, horizontal grate. I inch closer. It's a human. It's a pile of humans. What the fuck? I call over him and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? He is now slumped down on the floor, wheezing a little. I walk over and it must be 5 or 6 bodies in total, all stacked up on one another. They are all just slumped against the grate. The bodies were not fully decomposed. They were fucked up though. One had these big splotches all across its skin, like massive circular lumps that looked filled with something. Just a few massive ones raised up all along the arms and face. Another one had a ton of scars and injuries down each limb. Long, gouging cuts that looked to be set quite deep into the skin. Some were older than the others. One looked like it could have been from fucking yesterday. The worst one was the last one that I saw. The body had been beheaded, but there was no fucking sight of the head anywhere that I looked. I could just see the exposed flesh and the festering wound, and I had to look away and leave. I would have been sick if I didn't. I told Em we were getting the fuck out of there. I had to help him to his feet and help him walk. I could hear him wheezing pretty hard, and he told me he did not feel too good. We are walking as fast as we can back to the place that we came in from. Em is telling me, no, we can't go back there. We will get sick. And I'm just like, dude, we have no other choice. I don't know another way out. And then, just faintly in the background, as I am listening to Em moaning and crying, I hear something. I can hear a faint scraping sound. Quiet at first, but then it starts to slowly get louder until it crescendos, and neither of us can ignore it anymore. It sounds like nails being dragged across some kind of metal. Long nails, like a cat's claws. It hurts my ears and it makes me cringe. M is in no fit state to climb back up himself, so I have to get down and give him a boost so he can just about pull himself up. As I am doing this, I am hearing something else aside from the scraping. It sounds like gurgling, maybe. Like someone has a load of water in their mouth and are gargling it, but it sounds deeper than that. Like maybe mucus or something. It sounds disgusting. M is back up for the hatch and I'm like, dude, what about me? And he's like, sorry dude, I don't think I have the energy to pull you up. You fucking asshole. I start tearing into him for being an idiot and going up to those barrels and getting us into this entire mess, and he chirps back about how I had the key and suggested coming here and it was all my fault. And in the middle of the argument, another sound breaks the silence. A scream echoing throughout the tunnels. It wasn't any kind of a human scream. It was more like some kind of high-pitched shriek. I had never heard anything like it from any animal in my life. At that moment, fight or flight kicks in, and I jump as high as I can and just about reach the hatch. I am clinging with my fingers, and it must have kicked in for him too, because he has gotten up and scooted over and is pulling me up. We get in and seal it and lock the place up. We head straight home and head straight to fucking bed without saying another word. We had no idea what made that sound. We had no idea who or what dumped those bodies or fucking dismembered them. I'm not sure if they were homeless people living down there that could have maybe gotten fucked up by the radiation. All these years later, I still have zero answers. M was sick for a couple of days and did not leave the bed, but eventually recovered. He refused to go to the hospital because he did not want to get in trouble. Even when I told him he could die, he refused. I went back to see the Walmart kid, asked his mother if I could see him and that it was urgent. She started sobbing and told me I could come in. She told me he passed away about a day or so ago. I gave her the Walmart key her son had given me and told her what he told to me before giving me it. I told her we saw nuclear waste down there, but did not want to freak out a grieving mother by mentioning anything else. Not like she would believe it anyway. She just cried and thanked me for being a friend to her son and sharing what he said to me with her. She got real angry after that. I think she kicked up a fuss and really took it to the town. Filed a lawsuit, and the second that she did, they agreed to settle. As soon as that agreement was made, she up and left town. Never saw her again. Those underground tunnels got filled in from what I heard. They tried to keep it hush-hush, but you can't exactly keep a big project like that a secret from every single person in such a small town. The bodies and the nuclear waste never made it to any kind of newspaper or publication or press though. The town definitely knew about the waste. It was all anyone ever talked about for weeks. The bodies I saw though, and the thing that I heard, whatever it was, not a word, not a soul found out. I don't know if the town were aware before I went in there, but they must have been when they did the job. Sorry that I don't have any more than that. I would love some answers myself after all these years. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. I am really shit at telling stories, so sorry in advance. Be me, 2 years ago, working in a movie theater. There are only 2 in town on opposite sides. They were both owned by the same company. Ours was next to the mall of our yuppie town, and thus, larger, like 12 auditoriums. It is getting close to Halloween, so coworkers are telling stories about spooky shit around the theater. There's a little girl in Auditorium 5, and babies crying shit. Auditoriums 5 and 4 are across from each other at the end of the hallway. Double doors sit between them. It's a dead end basically. The building is in a T-shape. Haha, very funny, but there's nothing there. I am one of 4 usher staff on hand in the middle of the day during the week. Me and a new coworker are working together to clean after a set. I am pumped because I have a crush on him and we are alone. We have to go into Auditorium 5. Fuck. Play it cool. Don't fuck it up. We go in and start cleaning. The theaters on this end of the building are notorious for the lights not coming on even after the credits finish. I am scared of the dark, but toughen up and clean at the top of the rows of seats while Crush is at the bottom, and we work to the middle. Eventually, we get toward the middle, almost done, and it's only taken us about 10 minutes. I pause for a second to look around and bitch about the lights still not coming on, then look in the row behind me, and there is a fucking shadow blob hovering around the seats. Holy fucking shit, I'm out. Stammer a laughter coworker to finish up while I take the cans out. We bring trash bins with us and nope the fuck out of there. Say nothing to coworkers, ever, until next Halloween, and they shrug it off like, yeah, that happens. I got another story or two from there, and stuff, if anyone wants them. This is also from the theater, but wasn't me personally. There is a door to a staircase near Auditorium 1, the closest to the entrance of the building, that connects each auditorium's projector room via bridges above the ground floor. TLDR, nobody can get up there normally, and often, no one knows you are there. This is told to me by an usher guy that gets into the projector rooms and shit. He has a walkie-talkie to talk to the head of the usher staff group as they clean during a set on a weekend night. He goes into the projector room of Auditorium 4 and peeks out of the window into the room. All of the seats are down. And that's weird, because when ushers clean, they put all of the seats up. Hey, did you guys clean Auditorium 1? Yeah, we were just there. Are you sure? Goes back to check, and every single seat is up. Given that was in the space of about 3 minutes, it was pretty spooky. This happened a second time, but the second time it was proven to be some teenage prick fucking with the staff. Same guy also told me about a time he was wandering around near about 1 AM. All ushers but him had gone home about an hour or two before and went into the projector room of a completely empty Auditorium 5, heard a baby screaming, and promptly left. On another note, I am no longer at that job, but I am about to start working at an allegedly haunted toy store. Okay, think I got another one. Be the only person closing concession at 1 AM because it's a weeknight and the boss says, fuck you. It is just me, 2 managers, and an usher left in the building. All of the patrons are gone. We have 2 concession stands, but only one is open, at the front. Another is at the back, and you can see auditoriums 4 and 5 from there. During the week, unless there is a big movie premiere, the stand stretches for forever, and there is only one way in. An open portion of the stand against a wall that comes to a door with a required key code that leads to the kitchen and stock. I am mopping up in the kitchen. Fuck yeah, almost done. I wanna go home. I have an earbud in one ear listening to music, and the other ear open in case a manager calls for me. I am over in a corner next to our soda racks in the kitchen. Something falls behind me and makes a loud thud on the floor. I am startled as fuck and turn around. It's a bag of popcorn from stock across the room. Those weigh like 20 pounds and are stacked evenly so they never fall. Maybe I fucked that up. Pick it up and put it back. Finished up mopping around the ice machine. Open door back out to the stand. Pause while I pull my earbud out and turn my head back to the kitchen. There is a door at the back wall that leads to Auditorium 1 that can only be opened with a manager's key. I swear there is someone standing there, holding it open and staring at me. Just fucking staring. I don't get paid enough for this. Run the mop and water out with me and hide by the manager's office door until one of them comes back and checks the stand. They have to check our work before we can leave. These are mostly just, OMG, I saw a spoopy thing, oh no, stories. Be me, about 17 years old at the time. This is around October time. We are a camping/scout group comprised of 9 people on a trip in the woods about 100 kilometers north of town. Someone decides to play nighttime cops and robbers, and we all agree and say that yes, we'll play. Mind you, it's like 11 PM and pitch black except for moonlight and a single lantern. The rules are simple: 3 cops, 6 robbers. Cops guard the lantern and catch robbers using flashlights. The robbers need to reach the lantern to win. Caught robbers sit on a bench a few meters away from the lantern. It is round 6 or 7. I'm a robber. We start out at the pier, start making our way around to circle the lantern. Quickly, 2 robbers get caught, then a third. Maybe more, I can't tell. I circle around to the other side to get a better angle of approach. I hear rustling beside me. I glance back at the figure. He waves at me. I wave back. He kneels down and crawls right up beside me. I start telling him my idea for getting to the lantern. He is nodding in the dark. I can't see much, but he is wearing a hoodie, just like the other robber players. I move up, crawling on my hands and knees. He is following me the whole way, just 2 feet to my left. I make a break for the lantern. I hear him scramble up beside me, leaves crunching underneath our feet. Suddenly, there is a beam of light, and I am caught by all 3 cops who were camping around the lantern. I look at the 3 cops, then to the other 5 robbers sitting on the bench. I slowly turn around. There is nobody there. I look back. I ask if they'd seen anyone running with me. They all shake their heads and look at me like I am crazy. I shakily ask that we head to bed and lock them as well, just in case. They sigh and agree that it is getting late, 2 a.m. maybe. We are in our tents. My mates tell me not to bother locking up. I do it anyway. I stay up all night, sweating and staring at the opening to the tent. I swear I heard moaning and leaves being trampled underfoot that night, all around the tent, like someone circling. Nobody believed me in the morning. I never go back there again. When you were talking to him, did he or she ever actually say anything to you? It could be a skinwalker, shapeshifter, whatever we are calling them now. It could be something less sinister, maybe just a prank. No, I don't think he actually said anything to me. In the darkness, he looked like another scout in our group. I am pretty sure it looked like he was wearing a hoodie, but aside from that, I could not tell. For reference, it was incredibly dark. I did not have a flashlight, and the closest source of light was a small gas lantern, about 100 meters away maybe. It was also cold as shit at the time. We regularly get frost on October nights where I live, and this was a ways away, more north of that. In hindsight, I don't know if I saw the figure breathing. It was maybe -3 Celsius at the time, and my breath was forming in the air in front of me. I don't think I saw a breath cloud in front of him, but again, it was super dark. It also meant that the leaves made a ton of sounds when stepped on, which made it really easy for the cops to win each round. Robbers only won one of them. The area the camping site was in could probably be traced back to Native American origins, but that would be well over a century ago. When it was founded, I think it was just a farm with a really nice lake. I actually went there 20 plus times over half a decade before this happened. At which point, I just never wanted to go back there ever again. I don't remember hearing any strange stories about the history of the place. Again, it had been a scout reserve for nearly 100 years at that point. Oh, and by the way, we did not have a scout leader with us that night. He'd had to return home due to his daughter getting injured, but we had enough food, training, and a cell phone to make sure that we would not get into too much trouble. It was just the 9 of us there that night, and maybe who or whatever the hell that thing was. I will tell you a real-life story without any mystical bullshit. This is as scary as it gets. Let me tell you about a small brick factory I saw this summer. One day, I was riding my bike outside the city, and about 5 or 6 kilometers from the ring road, I found an abandoned motor depot. It was a cluster of buildings, boxy warehouses, administrative offices, some barracks, substations, and off to the side stood a 1-story bathhouse and shower made of red brick. It was like a small house. What was strange was that everything was still in surprisingly good condition, even though the depot had been abandoned for a long time. I figured it was because the turnoff to it was tucked away from a major highway, and there were no nearby settlements. In other words, a quiet, deserted place. Naturally, I started hanging out there, building jumps from my bike, goofing around, and sunbathing. One day, my partner, his friend, and I were driving past the turnoff to the base. I suggested we stop for a few minutes so I could show them my farm. My partner was looking for some building materials for his dacha, which were more expensive to buy than he wanted, but supposedly were stored at the base. So, we turned around and drove up. I should mention, I had not been to the farm for a couple of weeks, but I immediately knew someone had been there. Right where the asphalt started in front of the base, some burnt sticks were stuck into the ground. Upon closer look, I think they were burnt torches. Well, whatever, I thought. Just some weirdos, fine. But then, on the road nearby, some brown substance had been used to write an entire poem in strange signs. They were not hieroglyphs or runes, I can say that for sure. At that point, it stopped looking like regular weirdos. Things got worse. The guys with me were curious, even though they were both around 30 years old. They started climbing around the buildings. Everyone looked around, and then one of them noticed that bathhouse at the edge of the site. He came up to me and said, "You've got a great place here. You even hung curtains on the windows." I thought he was joking. He should have been joking. All the windows, which didn't even have frames, and the door were covered from inside with thick black fabric. Something was whining inside. None of us were cowards. One was a firefighter, the other an adrenaline junkie, but we all freaked out at once. We armed ourselves with sticks. My partner used a stick to pull down a piece of curtain from a window, and what we saw was chilling. The bathhouse interior, tiled from floor to ceiling, was completely covered with those same strange letters. Some were drawn with marker, some were painted, some with that brown stuff. To cover an entire room like that would take a team and at least a week. Keys hung from threads tied to the ceiling. They were just regular door keys, hundreds of them. In the middle of the room stood a table with two black, cylindrical objects. From the next room, someone was breathing heavily. It was clear I did not want to go in. Whatever ritual was going on here was mixed with some serious local cult madness. We had no idea if the ritual was finished, or if they were waiting for guests and were maybe still waiting here. I suggested smashing one of the cylinders with a brick. Everyone agreed with me, so I threw it. It turned out to be a 3-liter jar, wrapped in the same black fabric as the windows. It broke, and a black puddle of some disgusting liquid spread across the table. I have no idea what it could have possibly been. Then the smell hit us. The stench of rotten meat was so strong that we had to back away about 10 meters just to not feel the full force of it. It was real, rotten blood. 6 whole liters of it. We did not break the second jar, but I doubt it contained anything pleasant either. After getting used to the smell a little, my firefighter friend suggested we can check on who was wheezing behind the wall. We pinched our noses, tore the rag off from the entrance, and went in with sticks. What I saw finished me completely. 2 pigs were hanging from the ceiling in the corner, each about the size of a large dog. One, clearly dead, was cut up with something sharp. Its skin was shredded like noodles, its eyes were gone, and the floor was soaked in its own blood. The rope it hung on came right out of its mouth. I still don't know if it was a hook, but it was brutal. Its tongue and part of its intestines were hanging out. The second pig was still alive, twitching its legs and breathing hoarsely. It hung the same way, but had fewer cuts. I think it didn't make any sounds because it was either exhausted or its vocal cords were torn out by that horrific hanger. The impression was so intense that I only calmed my trembling jaw late that evening with 1.5 liters of whiskey shared among the 3 of us. In the semi-darkness, in silence, a pig, hanging by its intestines, kicks its legs amid hanging keys, strange symbols, and the unbearable stench of blood and decay. Later, I searched online for any ritual involving keys, blood, and a sacrificial pig. No such abomination exists, not even in black magic. By the way, maybe you know, Dvachers, what holiday were they celebrating there? One more disturbing detail. The blood was clearly not from these pigs. It was already rotten, and whose blood was it? Who the hell knows? Obviously, These guys did not attract 6 liters of mosquitoes.